Alright guys, hopefully you're not getting too beat down with this Corona time. I know it's Memorial Weekend, a lot of people are getting out. And I want to talk about something I have been waiting to review or discuss for quite a while. And that's the Athlon ETR 4.5 to 30 by 56 millimeter objective mil for the corrections and the reticle. Illuminated side parallax scope. That's kind of a mouthful. It's a lot of stuff. But instead of making this a really long video, I think I should probably just talk about the basics and let you guys ask questions down in the comment section. I have these two, and there's a good reason behind that. I really like them. I really like the optic. It's extremely rugged. It's going to hold up to your Magnum calibers and stuff like that. I'm just running them on, you know, either micro actions or short actions or 223 ARs, stuff like that. You look at that clearance. It has a fantastic clearance on the AR. As long as you have a good free floated barrel, that's awesome. Not a lot of gap there. Keeps it nice and low so my face doesn't have to sit up. I can have a normal cheek weld instead of a chin weld or, you know, off the gun altogether. I've seen some guys with their rifles and their optic is sitting up so high it just looks uncomfortable. This is really great. Appreciate it. The balance of this rifle in particular was really made possible by that optic. It disperses just enough weight in the right directions. So when I do barricade work, this thing is really handy. Not that I'm doing a lot of barricade work, but sometimes I like to mess around and do a little PRS kind of stuff, which these optics are very capable in, but let's save that for just a second. Going to start with illumination. So I've had some issues with other Athlons with maybe first runs, having a little bit of issue with that parallax being tight or the illumination being tight or finicky, touchy, and these were not first rounds. This optic has been out for a while, and so I think they've really gotten it down pat. I think this is a trustworthy design. I think it's good design, much better than a lot of other ones out there. And that side illumination feature there, you know, it's just enough that you can get a hold of it. I don't use illumination a lot, especially during the day, but sometimes, I will admit, sometimes it's come in pretty handy. Certainly you wouldn't have to use it if you don't want to, and in Minnesota, you know, batteries die really quick in the cold, and so I just don't put a lot of stock or effort into dealing with illumination, but a few times it's been awesome. Going to that side parallax. Now, this is a feature that I think a lot of people just don't understand, is parallax in general. People should probably go get educated before they make commentary on parallax knobs on rifles. I'll tell you on this one, this parallax knob is really smooth. It's not too weak. It's not that there's no resistance. It's just very smooth. You'll notice right away when you shoot it that those numbers don't mean anything. Okay, guys, they just don't line up at all. I thought maybe they did at a certain point. No, they don't. They're way off, in fact. And so I've had some optics like my Burris XTR. I guess in that particular one, it appeared to me that the numbers lined up very close. And I'm not sure about the process of calibration. I'm almost wondering if different eyes create different scenarios for or issues with parallax adjustment. It's possible, at least in my mind. I could be wrong about that. But I'll say on this one, it's completely functional. As long as you're looking at your target and you're doing the head wobble, you're making sure that reticle is on the same, you know, focal plane as your target, you're not going to have any issues. You do the little head wobble, and as long as she's steady, it's great, you know. And then you have that side or byproduct of clarity, so it will clear up your image a little bit. So parallax, fantastic. Not perfect, you know, I guess the numbers don't line up, but it's fantastic. Very functional for me, and I'd probably be okay if there are no numbers on there at all, just because you don't exactly have time to look at them always, you know. Moving up to the top, you have a really nice turret, actually. The turrets on these are, you probably can't hear it because of all the Memorial Day traffic behind me, but man, are they nice. It's just like some other high-end optics that I've tried. You know, really discernible. You can definitely do just a single click or jump a whole bunch at once, but they're very tactile. You can feel them extremely well. Like if you're wearing gloves in the winter, you know, I've had some optics that they may have tracked decently, but you couldn't feel where you were going. So if it was even the least bit dark or anything like that, it just didn't give you a lot of a surety about what you were dialing. And this one, you can both hear, so if you're wearing electronic hearing, you can hear those things dialing really well. and you can also feel it pretty precisely. You know, it takes just enough effort to get her going. And then it's got the coin slot on top for resetting the zero. You can watch some other videos about that if you care about that. I'm just going to say it's my favorite reset of a zero. It's extremely easy, it's smooth, there's nothing about it that bothers me at all. I think it's very consistent and reliable. Moving on to the side turret here, your windage. The windage is actually locking, and that's not a feature I would request, but now that I have it, it's just fine. You know, it's not bothersome. It does, you know, cause you to have one extra feature. You got to pull it out and push it in, and there's a little resistance there when you're messing with it. So if your rifle is really finely tuned and you're like bench shooting or shooting off the ground, you're probably going to move your rifle a little bit, pulling that out, pushing it in. But then you have your hunters and stuff like that who want that thing non-adjustable. They want it to stay right there. So very, very good. I'll say about the tracking, absolutely flawless. I know everybody seems to say this about their scopes nowadays, and they don't actually do tracking tests. They haven't hooked it up to a table or like a cement block or something to really test it. But both of these optics, two of them, okay, my two characters are flawless. I cannot discern any error in them at all. And in shooting, in actual practice, it is so trustworthy. It has been a real big relief. Just comparing these against some of the old optics I got started in, they are so consistent. It's amazing how much it clears up some frustration when you know it dialed this much and it should be going here. And you know, with old optics, there was always a question of tracking reliability, and these are fantastic. So very, very happy about that. Moving back a little bit, I do have an MK machining bubble level on the AR, and then I have a Lone Star Precision bubble level on my bolt gun. And so they're going to cost you maybe like $1 or $2 more than a regular bubble level, but not much at all. The price is coming down on 34mm accessories because they're becoming so popular. You know, and when you move, guys, when you move from like a 1-inch to a 30mm tube, you know, it's like you just opened a big window and you're like, holy cow, you can see so much better and feel the view and light transmission, and the reticle is better. You know, that kind of stuff happens again when you move from a 30mm tube up to a 34mm tube. It's just a lot better. And so don't let that hinder you if you're worried about weight or cost or whatever. I would say the 34mm tube is the way to go. It's not so big that it's obstructing, or it's not an issue for me on these types of rifles. Even on short little ARs, you know, I know there's a few 34mm low power variable optics out there, and those are fantastic, guys. They're really not that much heavier than you would get with a 30mm tube. Yeah, so magnification, I should get there. So magnification, you definitely could get a quick throw lever on there. I'm really soft on those because I do shoot in the cold pretty often, and that's a good way to break your rifle. I use pretty much on the AR, I just use the standard little nub cattail that's sitting on there. Works just fine. Just fine. It's not really quick, but it's just fine. And then on the bolt gun, yeah, I think that is actually another MK machining piece. Yep, on the bolt gun, that's an MK machining switch view, or magnification cattail, whatever you want to call it. Works really nicely. The weight of that dial is perfect. It's so smooth. There's no slop in mine at all. I've had quite a few scopes where when you're adjusting magnification, there's absolutely a little bit of slop right when you first get going, and I hate that. These, no slop. It's really, really good. I love that about it. Moving back, you know, your fast focus. I don't need a fast focus, but mine are always dialed in all the way because of my goofy eyes, and so nice and crisp. Works well. There's no complaints there. I didn't have any change in the reticle when I was dialing on it. Some you'll see, like in cheap optics, it'll actually move the reticle, and this, it was just fine. It was exactly where it needed to be. Had no issues, no canting of the reticle, anything of the sort. All right, how about that reticle? Let's talk about that. So the reticle itself, it's hard to see with the camera on the phone, so maybe I'll just put up a picture right now. But the reticle itself is extremely usable from about 8 power up to 30 power, and it's maximized at 30 power. I think, let's see, so today I was shooting at 200 yards, and at 200 yards, about 3/8 size dot is perfect for a point of aiming. So you can really do some target shooting with it, some nice tiny targets. And you know the saying is aim small, miss small. So that's really, really functional with that dot. Yet, if you do back it down to 8 power, let's say you're shooting like 600 yards on a 10-inch target or something, you can still tell where the center is because of that reticle. It's not like you lose it altogether, but the dot is harder to find. It's going to take you a second. And so I'm going to say with competition guys, this optic and this reticle is still very functional. I could see someone desiring a slightly bigger dot if they were going to do mainly PRS, but if you're going to do a little bit of target shooting, some ELR stuff, man, ELR, it's awesome. If you're going to do that kind of stuff, I would say this is the best all-around reticle I've seen yet. It does have a Christmas tree with a drop down, and the subtensions are extremely simple. It's not hard to read at all, and with the crispness of those turrets, the trustworthiness of it, I'm cranking on this thing all day long. The stainless steel in there has not worn out, has not wore out on me, and I crank on them every single week. And I'm doing ELR stuff a lot of times, guys. I'm cranking this out of range sometimes, all the way out. And just for conversation's sake, these have around 30 functional mils of adjustment and travel. For this rifle, let's see, this rifle does not have a 20 MOA base on it, and I have I have 17.5 mils of adjustment on my AR. That'll take me out to, I believe, is 1,400 yards. So that's really good. Let me grab this bolt gun. All right, on the bolt gun, so I have 20.5, but I also have a 20 MOA rail on this rifle right now. So again, think about how many mils of travel that is. Oh my gosh, 20.5 mils. And that's taking it to its extreme. You might lose some reliability in those last few clicks, especially with the spring tension. But oh my gosh, that's a lot of travel. And so guys running NRL 22, guys running things that don't have great ballistic coefficients, or things that drop a lot, you are going to love an optic like this. You're getting huge magnification with a reticle that still works at lower powers. You're getting first focal plane optic, which at this point I shouldn't have to explain what that is. I think most people should understand what that is. You're getting some accessories on it, magnification, or illumination, a very good parallax, super clear glass. And price-wise, I'm looking at the competition, I'm going, I just don't see why you would get something else. I don't understand why this optic is not more popular in the shooting world. If somebody's had some other experience with these, they broke, there's something terrible about them, I should know, definitely tell me, drop me a line in the comments, because I want to know. So far, in the last year of use, and I would say relatively hard use with both optics, I'm not super careful with them, these are flawless. And I just see so many Vortexes getting returned. I see so many SIG optics getting returned, breaking the knobs off during competition. I even see Schmittenbenders having sort of an issue with like the last year of production, people returning them because of the turrets. And so I'm going to say that this optic, somehow they've been able to produce an optic that is very affordable, very reliable. The competition world, the hunting world, the target shooting world, all of them would find a lot of value in an optic like this, you know? I just don't see a reason in my personal estimation of why you would want to or need to go beyond this optic if you're just shooting, you know, let's say magnification wise, if you're shooting even out to a mile with 30 power, you're really, really good on most calibers, okay? The about 30 mils, if you have a good proper 30 or 40 MOA base, you're shooting at a mile with whatever caliber, I don't see a reason that this optic couldn't do it for you and wouldn't do really well. I think there are some reticles that guys prefer a little bit. If you're a holdover guy, even then, this optic is really, really choice. I just don't see a reason for the other optics. I guess that's the whole point. I'm kind of confused why this optic isn't more popular right now with precision shooters, hunters, competition shooters. I know some other Athlons I've had trouble with. First line of production, like things that just came off the line, I have had a couple issues, and you can check out my other videos about that. But with this optic, I got nothing. I have no complaints, and I rarely find a piece of gear where I have no complaints. I can usually find something that I think, well, they could change this a little bit, or it'd be a little different here, or it'd be better if this is how it is. This one, I'm just super content. I don't know, that's all I have to say about it, guys. If you have questions or comments, go ahead and post those down below. There's not really much more else that I should share about it from my point of view. It's a great optic. I've had very good experiences with it. I've been fairly rough with it over the last year, and I have 2 of them as character models to assess and decide, is it just one that I got that was good, or are they all good? And so far, in my estimation, with the 2 that I have, if they're all like this, then I don't want to shoot any other optics. If I'm shooting heavy magnification, this is the one that's going to do it for me. So, thanks, guys. Appreciate the views.